This podcast is brought to you by the all-new Leupold Mark IV HD, the first step to long-range dominance.
Hunters, farmers, sporting shooters, it's time to set your sights. It's time to unload on the podcast made for Aussie shooters with Brad.
For a lesser man, this would be a challenge.
Matt.
Quite frankly, I'm going to win this.
And Keith.
I am pretty much the rabbit-proof fence.
It's the NIOA Unloaded Podcast.
Yes, well, another big podcast here on the NIOA Unloaded Podcast. Joining me, as always, Mr. Brad Johnson.
Thank you, Matthew. Hey, I was waiting for a round of applause from someone. It didn't come.
There was no round of applause. Digital Josh, would you please save the big round of applause because we have direct from the USA. Would you please welcome John Slack and Mr. Janos Jasinski from Leupold.
Good afternoon. Wild.
Thanks for having us. No applause.
Look, there'll probably be applause in the edit. Digital Josh will take care of that, won't you, mate? Well, welcome, fellas. You've made the trip over.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
How long does it take you to get over here?
About 14 hours, nonstop. Not too bad.
That's
32 hours of total travel time.
Yeah,
I always time it from when you leave the house to when you get to lay in the hotel bed, and it's about 32 hours.
Yeah, it is a long trip. Now, look, just to really introduce you guys and just tell us a little bit about who you are and what your role is at Leupold.
Yeah, I'm John Slack. I'm the International Commercial Sales Manager at Leupold and worked there about 15 years.
Fantastic. And Janos?
Director of Global Commercial Sales, been there 13 years.
Wow. Okay. Janos, what attracted you to come and work for a company like Leupold? What was your background?
I was in the electronics photo industry for many years, and quite frankly, it was my first Leupold, a Very X3 from the 90s that I still owned. Just loved the company and want to know more about what we do there, and just packed the U-Haul and drove up and been there ever since.
And tell you what, you're in sales and all that sort of stuff, and then you just brought all that talent across.
Some of that talent, yeah.
There you go. And so, John, you've actually got a family tie, though.
Yeah,
tell us a little bit about that.
Pretty interesting relationship with the company. Ever since I was a little boy, I've known and grown up around the company because my great-great-grandfather, Frederick Leupold, founded the company back in 1907. So it's something ever since I was about 6 or 7, had an awareness of the company. My father worked there for 33 years, his father for 35 years, and it goes all the way back 5 generations from me. So I kind of knew that there was an opportunity to potentially work there someday, and I took that opportunity about 15 years ago. So
that is a proper blue blood,
isn't it?
That's some bloodlines. There are some bloodlines.
I tell you what, we have we've got the creme de la creme here today. I tell you what. So, mate, are there other family involved with the company at the moment?
Yeah, my brother Mason, he works in the sales department as kind of a trade marketing, sales, merchandise manager. My cousin Peter, he works in the project management department. And then another cousin that's a family office manager. So there's 4 of us right now at the company, but all through the 100, plus years of the company, there's always been at least 4 to 5 people.
And your grandma was involved there for a while, was it?
She definitely helped out. Back in the earliest days, there wasn't as many women, working at the company, but she's, as a teenager, worked at the company during the high school years, kind of just helping out during World War II when women were needed in the workforce. And she's a great source of a lot of, stories that I get to ask her. She's 99 and a half years old now.
And still going strong.
And kind of the matriarch of the family, but somebody that's seen it all and remembers, her grandfather, Frederick, and her uncle, Adam, the other co-founder, and somebody that's kind of like a time capsule to be able to still tell stories about the earliest days.
Yeah. So Janos, 13 years, you said?
Yes.
With the company. What actually drew you to a company like Leupold?
Ultimately, American manufacturing, making products that perform better than anything else in the field, owning products that you pass on, you have for a lifetime. Yeah. Your kids can, or you compete with. And that's the ultimate value that we do every day. And that's the belief. That's over 700 people who work there feel that every single day.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Since it's a family company, it's a unique culture that can't be emulated anywhere else.
And I think, Brad, one of the things that we've often talked about is that Leupold warranty.
Oh, 100%. The best warranty you'll never need.
Is Marcus Leupold, right?
Or Frederick Leupold, his kind of original founding philosophy on creating a product and making products. And this was way before we ever introduced a rifle scope. Back when we manufactured and repaired surveying instruments, was the customer is entitled to a square deal. And what that exactly meant, got defined later, but he was always, first in his mind for making a product is that it's going to be something that somebody can count on for a lifetime. If you spend that much money, and back in 1910 or 1907, a $200 surveying transit is about $6,000 today. So, if you were to build something like that, but not, have anything behind it, then that's worthless for a surveyor, or now a hunter or a shooter.
Yeah. The big thing with the warranty, and this is what you won't get with a lot of European brands, especially here in Australia and New Zealand, is we fix your scopes here. And that makes a big difference. We're not shipping stuff back to the States or Europe or anything like that. And what's the turnaround time usually?
Well, generally about a week. So by the time we receive them here, it goes to the warehouse, 48 hours. It's normally back on transport back to you. So, yeah.
And I think that's one of the great things that, you guys have been able to help set us up here in Australia to do that. But that was always part of the plan, wasn't it?
A greater plan, yes. I mean, you have all the tools, you have the training, you have technicians that are like our technicians in your product services team.
Yeah. And that's really important for, a US brand like Leupold. Brad and I, we've both toured the factory.
We have.
And the attention to detail,
second to none.
Yeah.
Second to none. No stone is left unturned with Leupold. You can see the passion in the workers there too. American made, like Janos said.
Oh, yeah.
They're very patriotic.
Yeah. So with all the work that you guys have been doing, one of the most exciting things that we do want to talk about is new products for 2025.
Well, let's start at the top. Let's start at the VX6 Gen 2.
Now, this is brand new for 2025. Yep.
Just to introduce a SHOT Show, just started delivering this year. The best got better. So when you're looking for the premier optic for hunting, let's say a 3 to 18 by 44, how can you improve and make it even better? We added more travel. We added better ergonomics. We added a speed set CDS dial, which you no longer need the tool. So you can re-zero or verify your zero on location, slip the dial, lock it in, tool-free adjustments.
Competition grade adjustments too.
Yeah, right.
We learned a lot out of the Mark V being the number one scope in the PRS shooting world.
Yep.
And it has competition grade adjustments in that turret assembly.
We saw them, didn't we?
We did, played with them. We've actually been using them. Yeah. So here, the Mark IVs have been a revelation. I think released 18 months ago now, but, very similar to the Mark V, but in a more affordable capacity. They've been fantastic.
In that Australian market, especially PRS.
PRS rimfire.
It is growing.
Yeah. Is that where you guys see that happening in the States or?
Yeah, with their success of the Mark V, we wanted to bring some of the value and that performance to a lower price segment for a lot of first-time shooters and purists. And it's a really fun sport for 22 and even air rifle. And in Europe, we're seeing a lot of growth in PRS. Mark IV, it has everything you need, nothing you don't.
What's next?
Can't tell you yet. There's some, no.
Okay.
No. Almost.
Almost?
Oh, almost got me.
One of my favorite optics that you guys have done, and I've looked through them a lot. I looked through a lot of rangefinding binos in my time, but I haven't seen one as clear as what those BX4 rangefinders are. And now there's a new BX4 Gen 2 on the market as well. Can we talk a little bit about that?
When you set out to have a rangefinding binocular, one of the downfalls of most of those binoculars that are out on the market is how to have that visible display show up, and have it be crisp. And most of the competition out there's a blue film in front of that to help make that crisp. But with, the technology we have and the engineers and partners that we have to help make this binocular, we have crystal clear optics that, is just at the top, unmatched. And you can, because a lot of the times you're looking through these binoculars and you're not necessarily ranging all the time. You're glassing, 1,000 yards away, and you don't want eye strain to be induced. So I just used them a couple weeks ago when we had Lockie out from you guys from NIOA here, and just was amazed at how crystal clear those are. And then when you do range, you can easily see the target and the readout. And it's
pretty impressive.
Even comparing them to standard binoculars without the rangefinding function, the optically they just seem far superior. They just really
punch above their weight class.
They certainly do.
They really and when we're talking about our scopes, we're talking about our rangefinders, we're talking about our binoculars, binocular rangefinders. It has to work as a system because you spend so much time glassing. You're trying to identify game, target, low eye fatigue, great light transmission, flat field view. But then when that decisive moment comes and you need to range it, it has to be super accurate. So you have special signal processing. There's a lot of black box technology in that rangefinder unique to us to make it perform.
And I think that's the other thing too that we talk about. Our technicians, our salespeople, intimately know these products. You know, we send them over to Leupold in the States. I think, as you mentioned earlier, Lockie's had a week over there with you guys out to the Madras range, which Brad and I have done as well. What did you take him through on that week?
We really introduced him to, some of and he's already pretty well versed on optics, but Brent, one of our trainers, was able to go over some of the optics principles, which, he knew pretty well. And then we went out to the range and we kind of shot out to distance. We started with CDS and he's pretty familiar with that too. And, it's just an amazing tool to be able to range target and then simply take that engraved dial and spin it to the, say, 300 yard or 500 yard mark, and then bang on that steel exactly as you would at 100 yards. And we took that all the way up to 1,000 yards. And then from there kind of switched to a more PRS style shooting where we're shooting off different, barricades and things like that. And he was a natural with that too. And he was the first to get out and shoot to the mile. So he beat you, Brad, in your little competition from a year and a half ago.
Come on.
He was on that instantly.
But can we just go back to that? I did beat him.
You beat Matt.
I did beat him.
We were
That's
there for
all
that. That's all that
That's all that matters.
That's the only thing we remember.
Incidentally, if you do want to check out how Brad just beat me, you can check out the Savage Leupold video on the NIOA TV.
It wasn't just Matthew. I flogged you. But anyway, Josh was very forgiving in the edit for you. That was
How
all.
dare you? How dare you? I think Janos was there, and he'd probably vouch for you.
Yeah, he agrees.
Yeah, so he agrees.
I'll tell you one thing I want to talk about. VX Freedoms. There is still a stigma here in Australia that they're Chinese made. How do we straighten the legend?
Not true.
Okay, well, we want from the horse's mouth. Is this true?
Absolutely not true. We get in all our bar stock, so all the aluminum bar stock that we machine in our factory in Beaverton, Oregon. Every single scope, every single red dot that goes on a firearm, that you have that decisive moment of truth, we manufacture in Beaverton, Oregon. All of it is assembled there. All of it is serviced there. It's all guaranteed to perform. When you take a VX Freedom, 3 to 9, 40, 4 to 12 by 40, you figure that, wow, well, I'm only paying this much for it. It's not that costly. It can't possibly be. No, it is, because we have such economies of scale. We make thousands and thousands of scopes every single week. A large portion of that is VX Freedoms. So the hunter who gets a 3 to 9 40 gets a lot of scope for the money.
Yeah, right.
A tremendous value. Maybe on their first 22 or on a 308, if they're a youth hunter, they've saved up their money. That is designed to perform year after year, just like a VX6 Gen 2 or a Mark V. It's Punisher tested over 3.5 times the recoil of a 308 for thousands and thousands of cycles.
Can we sort of go a bit further into the Punisher and let everybody know what that actually is?
Because you and I saw that thing in action, yeah.
So it's a unique system that it's a recoil sled that mimics the recoil of a rifle. Real world experience. And we test all of our scopes for thousands and thousands of cycles. So we have generations of use in a short amount of time. So we know what works.
Yeah. And that VX Freedom goes, through the same testing as our Mark V. So we don't have a lesser threshold to pass on a VX Freedom.
It's all the same.
Has to, pass the same test.
And what's interesting too is even at that lower cost optic, it's still lifetime warranty.
That's right. A guarantee of performance.
Yeah, we've been manufacturing rifle scopes for 75 years, and we've learned how to make them better, improve. And we have a whole team of people that, are behind the scenes repairing them, because we don't just simply bring something back and throw it in the trash bin because it's cheaper to just replace it. We want to be able to repair that. And then oftentimes if we get a scope that's 40 years old, maybe 50 years old, and we don't have the parts, we will replace it with a like new optic, and then still in a lot of cases send back that rifle scope to that customer. A lot of sentimentality with people, and it was their grandfather's scope, and so we're able to kind of do both.
Yeah, it's interesting. We actually get that in our custom shop a bit, but I tell you what, one thing that I was really impressed by, and Brad, I know you really enjoyed seeing this, was the wall of
yes. The museum.
There's some stories in there.
Yeah, like
the one they fished out of the river, I think. That was my favourite.
Yeah.
Was there one that was hit by lightning or something?
Yeah, I think there was one of them too.
Yeah, we get all sorts of stories, and bullet holes through the side of the objective bell area.
Well, you'll get another one. You'll get another one probably in about 15 or 20 years when the one that the shark took when we were fishing.
Yeah.
Someone catches that shark one day.
Is that gone?
Well, it's
the
gone.
lure.
We didn't go looking for it.
No, correct.
James Cameron might go down in one of those submersibles and he'll see this and bring it
at
up.
the bottom. Yeah, you never know.
Pull it out of this shark and go, what the? Mind you, I tell you what,
Shark
if
guts.
the shark ever passed that, though, it'd be, that wouldn't be pleasant. I can tell you
Some
that.
preparation H's in store.
Yeah, that's
sure.
right.
Definitely, definitely. So other product lines.
VX3s, VX5s. Look, the VX5s have a huge following here in Australia, really do. It's sort of the pinnacle hunting scope, I suppose we could describe it as now. Let's embellish on that a bit. Is there any plans for any more powers or different reticles, different things? What have you got guys planned in the future with them?
We're always looking to evolve and innovate our product line. So really, you see the VX6 Gen 2, you see the VX5 kind of slot under that. Like you said, it's the perfect hunting scope. 3 to 15s are probably the most popular, but a lot of long range hunters are picking up the 4 to 20s as well.
Yep.
Okay.
And you can get a CDS dial just like that for the 5s. And then the 3s kind of slot in the middle, kind of the traditional 1 inch and 30 mil tubed 4.5 to 14s, and then the Freedoms at the opening price points.
Well, you guys have been to Australia a few times, so you know what our most popular scope is.
Yeah.
The 172368.
I love that number.
172. For everyone listening, what does that mean? 172368.
Bradley, well, you're our salesperson. I hope you know.
I do. Thank you, Matthew. I was actually throwing it back to you.
I would say it'd be a 3 to 9 by 40.
Oh, that's why you colour in. That is why you colours in, everyone.
Salesmen have like at least 40 part numbers that you've just memorized. And
but seriously, that is our number one. It's a 3 to 15 by 44.
Oh, so close.
VX5, 3 to 15 by 44 with illuminated fire dot. And that seems to suit every application. So it's
I was going to ask, what are some of the most popular reticles that you guys produce?
Fire dot duplex for sure.
Well, that would be
for the on the hunting side. Fire dot duplexes, you can change the brightness level. Yeah. It comes on when you need it. It shuts off when you put it down. It's super easy to use. And then if you're in competition shooting, PR2s, PR2 mil is very popular in the Mark Vs and also in the new PR3. So it just depends what the application is. They're all basically yardsticks. So what yardstick are you using for what tool?
Talking about competitions, let's talk about PRS and PRS rimfire. What are the major shooters using around the world? You know, who's winning PRS rimfire? Who's winning PRS centerfire? What are they using? What are they? What's their go-to scope?
Probably over 50% of the scopes on the line are going to be a Mark V. If you go to a PRS match, international matches, domestic matches, you're probably half will be Mark Vs, and they're really going to use probably a 5 to 25. Some will use a 7 to 35, but that 5 to 25 PR2 mil is the go-to. That wins on race day.
That's
it.
Absolutely correct, because I was at that PRS shoot only a couple of weeks ago with
the Capital Clash.
The Leupold Capital Clash. And you're dead on. So one of the most exciting things that has just happened is NIOA is taking care of Leupold in New Zealand now. So New Zealand for you guys is a very important market, isn't it?
It's an ultimate hunting destination. So for a lot of North American hunters, global hunters, New Zealand is the dreamscape to come and hunt stag and tar and everything else that the country has to offer. And back at SHOT Show of this year, we signed an arrangement to expand our distribution with NIOA New Zealand. And Fraser runs a great team there, general manager, and Christy, the category manager, is doing great things with the dealer base out there to grow the brand.
You guys ever hunted down in New Zealand?
I have not.
Not yet. Fish.
Okay.
We did a little fishing.
Oh, you've done some fishing? But you haven't actually hunting. Yeah. Okay. How'd you go on the trout fishing?
I think, we did pretty good.
Okay.
It's a lot better than the last couple of weeks when I went out salmon fishing with Lockie and nothing was biting for 10 hours that we were out there.
Friday,
It was great out in New Zealand.
Do you see much of a difference in the markets compared to Australia and New Zealand in, the models they use? I see they don't sort of use a lot of VX Freedoms, but more of that higher end stuff. It seems the guys over there seem to be a lot more serious about what they do.
Yeah. In the Western US, there's lightweight backcountry hunting is big, and that's very similar to hunting in New Zealand. Yeah. So that 172368 3 to 15 by 44 VX5 HD their most popular scope, and it's
I was
ours.
just about to say what that model was, but anyway, sorry.
What is it again, Matthew?
I don't want to take John's thunder there. So
We've said it twice. Surely you remember.
it's straight through.
But VX6s seem to be really well regarded over there as well. Even the first ones before the Gen 2s, they seem to have sold a few, I believe.
Yeah, just to have that versatility, the magnification range from 3 all the way up to 18, you know, it just gives you the ability to hunt in tight quarters and then take a long 500-yard shot. And it's a lot of similar situations than New Zealand and the Western U.S. and other open range places.
So, you know, one of the great things that we've been able to do is have you guys help us out with the Leupold custom shop. You know, first originally started with the warranty work that we were doing for Leupold here in Australia, and then quickly advanced because you guys used to have a custom shop stuff in, you know, North America. I think Canada had one for a while, but we are the only one left. But the biggest part of that, you know, apart from things like reticle changes, Cerakoting and engraving and things like that, one of the biggest things that we do for both the New Zealand and Australian market are CDS dials. Really, really popular. Just wondering if you could just maybe briefly talk about what CDS is. And
I'd like to know whose idea, what brainchild thought of it, CDS, and how did it all come to fruition?
I don't know the true origins of it. I knew it was, you know, introduced right around when I started, 2009, 2010, I believe. But simply
it's been out that long, CDS, hasn't it?
Wow.
Yeah.
And look, I know Australians are still trying to get the grasp of it. I know New Zealand have.
Yeah.
But
It's a good question, Brad. Like, what is it? So it's a custom dial system. So when you get a scope and you take, let's say, the cap off, you have numbers underneath, or you have an exposed turret. Well, what do those numbers mean? They may mean minute of angle, or they may mean mil, 1/10 mil adjustments. And for a shooter or hunter, if they're not well versed in it, it may be a little bit of a learning curve there. And a CDS dial takes the guesswork out of it. Once we know the speed of the bullet, we know the environmentals, we will laser dial, or in this case, your custom shop will laser dial and send it to the consumer. Once they zero it in, they'll put that dial on. And now they're really effectively, they're going to be accurate to their distance of comfort of shooting. 400 or 500 yards is not out of the question if the environmentals are right.
And that's the beautiful thing because, you know, you could be out there, you might range your target at 300 meters.
Yeah.
You can just turn that dial to the 3.
Yeah.
Bang. You're straight on.
you don't have to adjust. You just got to aim straight at it.
Yep.
You don't need
The
to hold
CDS
over.
does everything else for
No
you.
Hold on the
holdovers.
shoulder and go.
Yep. And then if it, you know, your game walks out to 500 meters, you just turn it to 5. It does take that guesswork.
It works. You know, I'm not a competitive shooter, but my longest shot of one shot on a mule deer was 440 yards with a VX6 and a CDS, and it dropped it.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, everything was right, and it has to be at that ethical limit of what that hunter's comfortable with, but it absolutely works.
And the great thing too, and most people don't know this when they buy their Leupold, but they come with a CDS dial for free.
Yeah, that's right.
And, you know, you need to be taking advantage of this, don't you?
You do. And we can redeem them. You can redeem them online here at our Australian custom Leupold
Just
site.
give us a call.
Easy to do it online.
Yeah.
Jump
yes,
on.
Of course. Yes. Leupold.com.au.
You designed the website, mate. But anyway, don't worry about the website. Pick up the phone.
Pick up the phone. Give call Brad. Pick up the electric telephone.
Dial.
But get online. But if you do have any complications or anything, certainly our guys in the custom shop are more than happy to talk to you. But yeah, basically, like Janos said, you just put in the details. If you can chronograph, and there's certainly, you know, there's new chronographs that you can get now.
Yeah, look, you don't always have to chronograph too. A lot of the factory ammunition packets have all the details, and it's good enough. You can get all that. The CDS dial will burn it, and it is, if you're hunting, as Janos said, ethical hunting, it's well within spec.
Yeah, so look, we're going to have to bring this thing to a close, but I got to tell you what, guys, thank you so much for coming out, making this whole trip out. I know we've got a lot on. We've got things like dealer trade shows. We've got all sorts of stuff
Boxing
happening.
tents.
We've got boxing tents. We might even take Janos out for a bit of a shoot somewhere. What do you reckon, Brad?
We're gonna smack her in the face or something. Oh, we can't say that. Jesus. Cut that out.
Well, anyway, I look forward to the emails from the Animal Justice Group. And thank you for joining us on the next. I'll wrap that up again. So here it is. Leupold, John, Janos, thank you so much for joining us
Thanks,
Thank you
guys.
so much for having us.
on the
Thank you
NIOA
guys.
Unloaded Podcast.